You ever see 500 people running for their lives getting chased by 40,000 angry bees on land? Their wellness leader charged them $50 a piece to camp on never asking the guy who actually owns it. Yeah, that happened. That was my land. Karen Westfield, queen of the HOA self-appointed community healer, thought she could pocket $25,000 by turning my family's farm into her private retreat. What she got instead was a lesson nobody's ever gonna forget, least of all her. Because let me tell you, you don't mess with a retired firefighter who's lost everything but his backbone. Name's Wes Hoffman. I'm 62, been living out here in Millerville, California since I could walk. My grandfather bought these 15 acres back in '52, and my family's poured sweat into every inch of this land. Used to be pure farm country, you know. Now it's where folks from Silicon Valley come to find themselves on weekends, buying up big houses, talking about sustainability while their gardeners do the work. 3 years ago, I lost my wife, Sharon, to cancer. 43 years together, and suddenly it was just me in the old farmhouse rattling around with more ghosts than furniture. I got a bum knee from my last year on the fire department roof, caved in, messed it up good. Pension keeps the lights on, but life gets quiet. So I took up beekeeping. Sharon always said helping neighbors mattered, and honey seemed like a decent way to keep busy. Bees don't judge you for talking to yourself at 4 a.m. I named every hive after a fallen brother from the firehouse Rodriguez, Captain Murphy, Jimmy Kowalski. Those boxes became my church, my therapy, my livelihood, all rolled together. Then Karen moved in and life got interesting if your idea of interesting is daily migraine. She and her husband Derek, he's the kind of tech guy who spends more on hiking boots than my truck's worth bought the biggest place in Meadowview. Fake Mediterranean palace with a 4-car garage and a lawn so green you know it's got its own zip code. Karen's got the white Tesla, the Instagram followers, and a new mission every week. Took her 6 months to get herself elected HOA president, running on a platform of community standards, translation, control freakery. She started with little things, showing up uninvited, clipboard in hand, snapping photos of my hives and vegetable beds like she was the farm police. Last November, she files an official complaint, said, "My bees were a public menace, threatening children, hurting property values." Demanded I get rid of them or pay $500 a day. Claimed she'd call animal control if I didn't comply. Now I've run into burning buildings, pulled kids out of wrecks, held hands with folks taking their last breath. I know something about protecting a community. And I know a bully when I see one. So I gathered up every permit, registration, and bee certificate. I had walked right into her neighborhood safety meeting. Room full of nervous neighbors, animal control officer there, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Karen's up front PowerPoint slides showing bee attacks she probably Googled that morning. She says Mr. Hoffman's hobby is a public menace. Killer bees dangerous to children. Rodriguez the officer, not my hive. Rodriguez the guy, he flips through my paperwork, all legal and up to date. Karen's face gets redder by the minute. Here comes the twist. Rodriguez says, "Ma'am, these are Italian honeybees, gentle as house cats. Filing false reports is a misdemeanor." Karen storms out, swearing she'll have the last word. She always thinks she will. But what Karen never bothered to check, my land's not part of her HOA. Our deed predates that whole subdivision by 70 years. No covenants, no restrictions, no authority. She can file complaints till her manicure wears off, but she can't make me do a thing. Still, she doesn't let up. A week later, her community wellness warriors are traipsing through my back pasture, claiming some old right-of-way that doesn't exist. Designer yoga mats, Instagram stories, the works. Meanwhile, Derek's got surveying gear set up, acting like he's Neil Armstrong planting a flag. I put up new no trespassing signs every 50 feet. They walk right past them. So I spent a few nights down at the county recorder's office digging up every deed and survey from the last 70 years. My boundaries are clear as daylight. Their property, turns out their septic tank's been draining onto my land for a year and a half. That's an EPA violation, $50,000 in fines, minimum. I show Derek his own survey numbers and he about faints. Karen naturally goes on Nextdoor posting about how I'm targeting newcomers and harassing wellness activities. Here's what you learn from 30 years fighting fires. Desperate people make dumb mistakes. Karen's social media rants get crazier. Derek keeps collecting evidence of his own crimes. I set trail cameras everywhere. The more they push, the deeper the hole they dig. Then comes the big show. Karen announces a community wellness retreat, a 2-day festival, 500 RSVPs, $50 a head for mindful camping. Food trucks, porta potty sound system. Not just trespassing commercial enterprise on my land. I call the sheriff, hand over the files. Deputy Martinez shows up, reviews Karen's permits from the wrong county, and asks about her historical access documents. They're forgeries fresh off Karen's printer with made-up document numbers. The code enforcement officer snaps photos, writes up violations for operating an unpermitted event, food service, camping health codes. Meanwhile, my lawyer buddy Pete uncovers that Derek's company is targeting my property for a $20 million server farm. Their whole wellness campaign just cover for a harassment scheme to force a cheap sale. Same scam they pulled in 2 other towns. The evidence piles up: emails, text messages, even old victims who recognize the pattern. Now about those bees. Over the years, you learn that when bees feel threatened, loud noises, vibrations, they protect their hive. I may have tinkered with a few motion-activated hive entrances, just to make sure if a crowd wandered close, the bees would, notice. Saturday morning, crisp blue sky air so fresh you want to bottle it. My land looks like a Patagonia catalog exploded. At 8:30, Karen's got her bullhorn sound system thumping. The music vibrates through the ground, and suddenly those Italian honeybees have had enough. Rodriguez's hive leads the charge, thousands of bees rising like a living cloud sweeping across the crowd. Then Murphy and Kowalski hives join in, and I watch from the porch with my coffee, trying not to grin. It's like a nature documentary crossed with an episode of Cops. Yoga mats, flying food truck guys, sprinting Teslas, fishtailing through my pasture. Channel 7's news van is right there, camera rolling as Karen tries to shout over the chaos, insisting it's just a minor disturbance. Meanwhile, Deputy Martinez rounds up Derek, caught red-handed with surveying gear on the wrong side of the property line. After the dust and the bees settle, we've got 23 bee sting victims, 6 ambulances, and a news story that's about to blow up social media. Karen standing there, hair wild, yelling about deliberate bee attacks and extremist neighbors. Deputy Martinez calmly asks if I released bees on purpose. No, ma'am, I say, I just keep bees on my property. They don't like trespassers any more than I do. The real mic drop comes when Channel 7 airs Derek's emails about the server farm, Karen's fake documents, and audio of her trying to bribe the county inspector, who, by the way, was wearing a wire thanks to Eddie Kowalski, neighbor and master of the sneaky iPhone recording. Karen and Derek end up in squad cars facing felony charges for fraud, bribery, trespassing, and more. Her wellness warriors drive home with bee stings and a whole new respect for private property. 6 weeks later, Karen and Derek both plead guilty. Their companies shut down business license, revoked, facing lawsuits from every direction. HOA dissolves. Turns out nobody wants to be associated with criminal leadership. The best part: the money from their settlement pays for new equipment for the local fire department and a honey delivery program for elderly neighbors. Funny thing, without Karen around, the neighborhood actually comes together. We start a community garden on the old server farm site. School kids come out to learn about bees. Even some of Karen's followers apologize and ask for honey. And me, I'm sitting here on my porch, coffee and hand bees humming in the distance, thinking about Sharon and my grandfather and what it means to stand up for something bigger than yourself. Sometimes the smallest allies, 40,000 strong, make the biggest difference. Never underestimate the power of a stubborn beekeeper with nothing left to lose. So what about you? Ever had an HOA or neighbor from hell try to take what's yours? Drop your story in the comments. Let's hear about your battles, your wins, your lessons learned. Justice only works when folks stand together, and sometimes a little honey and a whole lot of backbone go a long way.